Have you ever done everything right, cut the salt, skipped the red meat, drank plenty of water only to have your doctor look you in the eye and say, "Your creatinine is rising"? That single sentence can feel like the ground giving way beneath your feet. Because when creatinine climbs, it isn't just a number, it's the first whisper that your kidneys, the silent filters, keeping you alive, are starting to fail. What most people don't realize is how quietly this happens. No pain, no warning, just slow damage hiding behind healthy habits. And here's the part that shocks my patients the most. Sometimes it isn't the junk food that hurts you, it's the healthy foods, the same fruits and juices you've been told to eat every single day. One of my patients, a 67-year-old grandmother named Rachel, started every morning with a banana and ended each evening with a glass of orange juice. She thought she was protecting her heart. 2 months later, she was in the emergency room with a heart rhythm so unstable the team feared she wouldn't make it through the night. Her blood potassium was sky high. The very fruits she trusted had nearly shut down her kidneys. This isn't rare. After 40, your kidney function drops about 8 to 10% every decade. By 70, you've lost nearly a third of your natural filtering power, and no one tells you until it's too late. That's why I call kidney disease the silent thief. It steals your health quietly year after year, while you still look perfectly fine on the outside. But today, that silence ends. In this video, I'm going to show you 5 fruits that can actually help lower creatinine and protect your kidneys, and 7 seemingly innocent ones that could push you straight toward dialysis. You'll learn how the difference between those two groups can decide whether your kidneys recover or decline, and how one simple change in your morning fruit bowl could literally save your life. Because the truth is, food can be medicine or poison. It all depends on the condition of the body it enters. And once you understand that difference, you'll never look at a piece of fruit the same way again. When most people hear the word watermelon, they think of summer picnics, bright red sweetness, and hydration. But for your kidneys, watermelon can be far more than just a refreshing snack. It can be a gentle internal rinse that helps your filters rest, recover, and breathe again. I still remember George, one of my patients in his late 60s, who came to me exhausted and swollen. His labs showed creatinine at 1.9 mg/dL and climbing. Instead of another pill, I told him to focus on simple hydration, starting with 1 cup of fresh watermelon every morning. 3 months later, his numbers dropped to 1.5 and the swelling in his ankles was gone. That's not magic, it's biochemistry. Watermelon is over 90% water, meaning every bite works like a natural flush for your kidneys. It also contains lycopene, a powerful antioxidant that fights free radicals, the unstable molecules that chip away at your kidney cells day after day. And unlike other melons, watermelon stays surprisingly safe for those with mild kidney decline, just about 170 milligrams of potassium per cup and barely a trace of oxalate. That's nearly 1/3 less potassium than Honeydew or Cantaloupe, which can overwhelm weaker kidneys with mineral buildup. Still, moderation matters. 1 cup of cubed watermelon offers hydration and detox benefits, but more than that, can spike your blood sugar, especially if you're diabetic or insulin resistant. The trick is timing and pairing. Eat it in the morning or early afternoon, when kidney function peaks, and combine it with a few almonds or walnuts. The healthy fats and protein slow sugar absorption, keeping both your glucose and your kidneys steady. Always choose fresh chunks over juice. Juicing concentrates the sugar and potassium into a quick, dangerous hit your body doesn't need. When George followed this routine, he said, "Doc, it's the first time I felt light again." That's the quiet power of giving your kidneys water-rich fuel instead of overload. Watermelon reminds us that sometimes the simplest foods are nature's most elegant medicine. But just knowing this isn't enough, because the next fruit hides a twist that surprises almost everyone. It's tiny, colorful, and can heal or harm depending on how you use it. If watermelon is the gentle rinse for your kidneys, then berries are the armor that protects them afterward. Their bright colors aren't just beautiful, they're biochemical signals of healing power. I'll never forget Maria, a retired teacher who walked into my clinic clutching a grocery bag filled with supplements. Her creatinine was holding at 1.8 mg/dL, and she felt trapped in a cycle of fatigue and swelling. I told her to skip the pills for a week and replace them with half a cup of mixed berries every morning, blueberries, strawberries, and a few cranberries. In 6 weeks, her energy returned, her inflammation markers dropped, and her creatinine stabilized. She didn't believe it until she saw the lab report. Science explains what her body already knew. Berries are packed with anthocyanins and elagitanins antioxidants, proven to reduce the oxidative stress that quietly scars kidney filters over time. Just half a cup contains only 114 to 233 milligrams of potassium and almost no oxalates, which makes them one of the safest fruits for anyone watching their kidney numbers. Research from the Journal of Renal Nutrition shows these compounds can lower C-reactive protein and improve microcirculation inside renal tissue, essentially cooling down the inflammation that pushes creatinine higher. The key is consistency, not quantity. A handful of fresh or unsweetened frozen berries 3 to 4 times per week builds up that protective effect like tiny shields along your blood vessels. Mix colors for a wider range of antioxidants, blueberries for anthocyanins, strawberries for vitamin C, raspberries for fiber, cranberries for urinary tract defense. Blend them into oatmeal, sprinkle them over Greek yogurt, or freeze them for a crunchy afternoon snack. But skip the mega smoothies that cram multiple servings into one glass. Too much sugar and potassium can cancel out everything good they offer. Maria later told me, "It feels like my body finally calmed down." That's exactly what berries do. They whisper healing into your bloodstream rather than shouting through it. But knowing how to protect the kidneys is only half the story, because the next fruit doesn't just defend, it actively cleanses the toxins your body can't expel on its own. And missing it could mean missing your chance to reverse the damage. If berries are the armor that guards your kidneys, then apples are the quiet custodians that clean up the battlefield. Their power isn't loud or flashy, it's steady, dependable, and astonishingly effective when you make them a daily ritual. One of my patients, Margaret, used to joke that she'd tried everything but the apple cliché. Her creatinine had hovered around 2.0 for months, and she was terrified of moving closer to dialysis. I asked her to make just one change, one medium apple every afternoon, peel on no excuses. 6 weeks later, her labs showed improvement, creatinine down by 0.3, cholesterol lower, and her digestion smoother than it had been in years. That small change works because apples do something most fruits can't. They clean toxins before your kidneys even see them. The secret is pectin, a soluble fiber that binds to waste molecules and phosphorus in the intestines. Think of it as a backup filtration system that gives your kidneys breathing room. Every medium apple contains only about 195 milligrams of potassium and less than 2 milligrams of oxalate, making it one of the gentlest fruits for compromised kidneys. Studies from the National Kidney Foundation and the University of Florida show that daily apple consumption helps reduce nitrogenous waste and supports the gut-kidney axis, the invisible partnership between your digestive tract and your renal system. To get the full benefit, never peel your apple. The skin carries up to 6 times more polyphenols, quercetin, and chlorogenic acid than the flesh itself, both of which fight inflammation and oxidative stress inside kidney tissue. Organic is best, but even washed, conventional apples offer huge gains. And if chewing is difficult or you're on the go, unsweetened applesauce gives nearly the same benefits with even less potassium. Margaret told me, "It feels like my body's filter finally unclogged." That's the essence of apples. They don't just nourish. They restore flow and rhythm to a tired system. But only knowing how to clear toxins isn't enough, because the next fruit doesn't just help your kidneys survive. It helps them thrive by healing the blood vessels that keep them alive. And missing that could mean missing the true key to reversing kidney decline. If apples are the gentle cleaners of the body, then grapes are the repair crew that restore the pipes themselves. After all, your kidneys don't exist in isolation. They live at the end of a vast river system called your bloodstream. And when that river becomes stiff, clogged, or inflamed, every filter downstream begins to fail. Grapes, especially the red and purple varieties, protect that river better than almost any other fruit on earth. I remember Thomas, a 70-year-old truck driver who'd battled high blood pressure for 2 decades. His creatinine was rising slowly but steadily, and every doctor told him it was just aging. I suggested something shockingly simple: half a cup of dark grapes with his lunch 4 days a week. He laughed at first, but a few months later, his blood pressure dropped, his energy returned, and his creatinine began trending downward. When we reviewed his ultrasound, the blood flow to his kidneys had improved. That wasn't coincidence, that was chemistry. Here's the science behind it. Grapes are rich in resveratrol, the same compound that made red wine famous for heart health, only without the alcohol and its side effects. Resveratrol boosts nitric oxide production, which relaxes blood vessels, improves circulation, and lowers the pressure burden on your kidneys. A single cup of grapes has about 288 milligrams of potassium, so portion control matters. Half a cup provides all the benefits with just 144 milligrams, well within safe limits for most kidney conditions. They also contain vitamin C and flavonoids that act like tiny firefighters, cooling inflammation before it can scar kidney tissue. For best results, go for red or purple grapes. Those deep pigments signal the highest resveratrol levels. Keep them unpeeled. The skin is where the magic lives. Store them unwashed until you're ready to eat and enjoy them mid-morning or with lunch when your body's energy demand peaks. You can even freeze them as a natural ice cream replacement. They're sweet, satisfying, and won't spike your potassium the way dried fruits or juices do. Thomas told me later, "Doc, I feel like the traffic inside me finally started moving again." That's exactly what grapes do. They open the road so your kidneys don't drown in congestion. But only knowing how to restore circulation isn't enough, because the next fruit doesn't just move blood, it helps control what flows through it, cutting inflammation at its very source. And missing it could mean missing the body's built-in pain relief system that protects your kidneys at night. If grapes open the roads for healthy circulation, then cherries are the night shift healers that repair the damage while you rest. They're small, sweet, and almost innocent looking, yet they hold one of the most powerful anti-inflammatory weapons nature ever designed. I'll never forget Evelyn, a 62-year-old nurse who'd spent years battling gout flare-ups and restless nights. Her creatinine was stable, but edging higher, and she complained that her joints throbbed so badly she couldn't sleep. Instead of another prescription, I told her to try a simple ritual: half a cup of tart cherries 1 hour before bed. 2 weeks later, she returned smiling. "I slept through the night for the first time in months," she said. Her morning stiffness had eased, her uric acid levels were down, and her kidney labs looked better than before. What changed wasn't magic, it was chemistry. Cherries, especially tart varieties, are loaded with anthocyanins, the deep red pigments that neutralize free radicals and block the same inflammatory pathways as common painkillers, but naturally. They also lower uric acid, the crystal-forming waste that triggers gout and silently damages kidneys over time. Each half-cup serving carries about 160 milligrams of potassium, a safe range for most people with kidney concerns, and virtually no sodium or phosphorus. Science backs what Evelyn felt. Studies in the Journal of Functional Foods show tart cherry compounds can reduce inflammation markers like CRP by up to 25% and even improve sleep quality thanks to their natural melatonin. Better sleep means lower nighttime blood pressure and less hormonal stress on your kidneys. Two quiet victories that add up over time. For best results, choose fresh cherries in season or frozen tart cherries year-round. If you use juice, dilute it with water to reduce sugar concentration and never exceed half a glass. Evelyn once told me, "It feels like my body finally remembered how to rest." That's the beauty of cherries. They soothe from the inside out, helping your body repair instead of just endure. But only knowing how to calm inflammation isn't enough, because the next fruit looks harmless, yet hides a dangerous secret. Its concentrated sweetness and mineral load can silently undo all this healing. And that surprise is where most people go wrong without ever realizing it. If cherries heal while you rest, dried fruits quietly do the opposite. They overload your kidneys even when you think you're being healthy. They're small, colorful, and perfectly packaged for convenience, which is exactly why they're so dangerous. I remember Daniel, a 65-year-old accountant who swore he ate clean. He had swapped candy bars for dried apricots and raisins, tossing handfuls into his oatmeal and salads. When his lab results came back, his potassium levels were off the charts, and his doctor was preparing him for emergency treatment. Daniel looked stunned. "But it's just fruit," he said. "That's the trap. When fruit is dried, the water disappears, but the minerals don't. They condense into tiny, deceptively sweet bombs of potassium, sugar, and oxalate. Just half a cup of dried apricots holds about 755 milligrams of potassium, almost 40% of a kidney patient's daily limit. A quarter cup of raisins, over 300 milligrams. Compare that to the same amount of fresh grapes, which contain roughly half that amount. The psychological danger is just as real because they're bite-sized. You eat them by the handful, stacking up more potassium in 5 minutes than your kidneys can clear in a day. The sugar concentration makes it worse. Every dried piece delivers the glucose load of several fresh fruits, spiking insulin and accelerating the inflammation that quietly scars kidney tissue. If you're managing both kidney issues and diabetes, that combination is a perfect storm. And here's something most people miss commercially. Packaged dried fruits often contain phosphate additives and preservatives to keep color and texture, each of which places extra stress on already overworked kidneys. The fix is simple but powerful. Choose fresh fruit whenever possible or freeze grapes to mimic the chewy sweetness of candy. You can even make your own fruit leather from pureed apples. Baked at low heat, it satisfies cravings without flooding your bloodstream with minerals. The goal isn't deprivation, it's precision. Daniel eventually switched to frozen grapes and low-sugar applesauce. 2 months later, his potassium normalized and his creatinine finally dropped for the first time in years. I had no idea I was hurting myself with something that looked so healthy, he told me. That's the problem with kidney disease. It doesn't punish obvious mistakes. It hides in the habits that look virtuous. But just knowing which snacks to avoid still isn't enough, because the next fruit on this list carries a different kind of threat, a tropical favorite that looks innocent, but can silently build sharp crystals inside your kidneys. And once those form, the pain can be unforgettable. If dried fruits overload your kidneys with invisible minerals, kiwi attacks them from another angle, one that feels healthy until it isn't. Its fuzzy skin and bright green flesh make it look like the ultimate superfruit. But for anyone with kidney issues, kiwi can quietly become a stone factory. I'll never forget Linda, a 58-year-old yoga instructor who came to me after passing 3 kidney stones in 1 year. She was fit, ate mostly plants, and thought she was doing everything right. When we reviewed her diet, the culprit jumped out instantly: 2 kiwis every morning, 7 days a week. Her face went pale when I explained that each kiwi carries 450 to 500 milligrams of potassium and is loaded with oxalates, about 30 milligrams per cup. Those oxalates bind to calcium in the urine and form sharp, needle-like crystals. The more kiwis she ate, the more raw material she gave those stones to grow. That's why the combination of high potassium and high oxalate is so risky. For someone with strong kidneys, it's manageable. But once filtration slows even slightly, those minerals linger longer, crystallize faster, and can cut through delicate tissue like sandpaper. Studies in the Clinical Journal of Nephrology confirm that elevated urinary oxalate is one of the fastest ways to accelerate kidney damage, especially in people who already show signs of declining GFR. The solution isn't to fear fruit, it's to choose smarter fruit. If you love that tropical tang, trade kiwi for green grapes or fresh pineapple. Both give you the bright, refreshing flavor with far lower oxalate content and safer potassium levels. And remember, balance matters more than branding. Superfood on a label doesn't mean safe food for your kidneys. When Linda swapped her daily kiwis for pineapple, her pain vanished within weeks, and her next ultrasound showed no new stones forming. She looked at me and said, "I can't believe the healthiest thing I ate was the one hurting me most." That's the hard truth. Kidney harm often hides behind foods that look saintly. But understanding oxalates is just the beginning, because the next fruits on this list aren't hiding, they're exploding with potassium so dense it can overwhelm your kidneys in a single sitting. And that surprise often hits hardest in summer. If kiwi hides its danger behind a halo of superfood, cantaloupe and honeydew are far more deceptive. They look soft, harmless, even angelic. Those glowing orange and pale green cubes in your breakfast bowl feel like nature's dessert, right? But for weakened kidneys, they can be silent overload bombs. I still think of Robert, a retired engineer who loved starting his day with a huge fruit salad. He'd pile it high with melon, convinced he was eating clean. His potassium levels were so elevated, his doctor feared cardiac complications. When we traced his meals, it wasn't salt soda or protein powder. It was melon, 2 heaping cups every morning. Each cup of cantaloupe carries around 430 milligrams of potassium, and honeydew runs even higher, about 475 milligrams. Double the serving, and you're near 1,000 milligrams in one sitting, half a kidney patient's daily limit before lunch. The science is clear. In healthy bodies, potassium helps nerves and muscles fire properly. But when filtration slows, excess potassium stays in the blood, throwing off the heart's rhythm. A New England Journal of Medicine review shows that sudden potassium spikes can cause arrhythmia or even cardiac arrest in CKD patients, especially after large concentrated meals like melon breakfasts or smoothies. That doesn't mean you can never enjoy melon again. It means portion and substitution matter. If you crave that juicy refreshment, swap cantaloupe for watermelon. It delivers the same hydrating sweetness with barely a third of the potassium. Or mix in berries and apple chunks to create a kidney-friendly fruit bowl that keeps your taste buds happy and your electrolytes balanced. And when you order fruit plates at restaurants, be explicit, no cantaloupe or honeydew. You'd be surprised how often they fill half the bowl. When Robert made that simple swap, his potassium normalized within a month and his energy returned. I thought fruit could never hurt me, he admitted, but now I know moderation saves lives. That's the lesson. Sometimes it's not what you eat, but how much and how often. But understanding potassium overload still isn't the end of the story, because the next fruit has become a global obsession for its healthy fats. Yet for people with kidney or heart issues, it can quietly push potassium to lethal levels. If melons quietly flood your bloodstream with potassium avocados, do it boldly with the confidence of a food the world calls perfect. They're rich, creamy, and everywhere on toast and smoothies, inside salads. Nutrition headlines praise them as heart heroes. But for someone living with kidney disease, that same avocado can become a ticking mineral bomb. One of my patients, Carla 61, adored her avocado smoothies. Every morning she'd blend half an avocado with spinach, banana, and almond milk, the green drink that made me feel alive, she said. Yet her lab results told a different story. Her potassium had jumped dangerously high, and her creatinine followed. What she thought was energizing her was in truth overloading her kidneys. Here's why. A single avocado contains nearly 1,000 milligrams of potassium, almost half the daily limit for people with impaired kidney function. Add potassium-rich greens or bananas to that, and you're past the danger line before 9 a.m. And for those taking ACE inhibitors or ARBs, common blood pressure and kidney medications, the risk multiplies. Those drugs already reduce potassium excretion, so combining them with high potassium foods can trigger hyperkalemia, a condition that can cause muscle weakness, paralysis, or sudden heart failure. Even the healthy fats in avocado can become problematic when eaten excessively. Yes, they support cardiovascular health, but they're also calorie-dense and can lead to weight gain, one of the biggest silent accelerators of chronic kidney decline. In other words, too much of a good thing quickly becomes toxic. There are safer, satisfying swaps. If you crave that creamy texture, try white bean hummus or mashed cauliflower. They offer the same smooth richness with less potassium and zero hidden danger. For flavor, choose fresh tomato salsa instead of guacamole. It gives you antioxidants without the overload. Carla made that switch, and within 6 weeks, her potassium returned to normal. Her blood pressure stabilized, and she felt lighter both physically and emotionally. She told me I used to think healthy meant trendy. Now I know healthy means balanced. And that's the truth. What helps the heart can sometimes hurt the kidneys if you don't know the full story. But only knowing about potassium-rich foods isn't enough, because the next fruit is far sneakier. It's praised for vitamin C and breakfast energy, yet it can push potassium and sugar levels so high that your kidneys can't keep up. If avocados disguise danger behind the word healthy oranges and their juice hide it behind fresh, they look like pure sunshine in a glass, bright, energizing, loaded with vitamin C. But for anyone with even mild kidney impairment, that morning, orange juice can quietly overload your system long before lunch. I once treated Henry, a 72-year-old retired teacher, who began each day with what he proudly called my heart-healthy breakfast oatmeal toast and a tall glass of orange juice. He didn't smoke, didn't drink, and thought he was doing everything right. Yet one routine checkup showed his potassium at a critical level and his heart rhythm irregular. He stared at me stunned. "Doc, it's just juice," he whispered. "That's exactly the problem. A single cup of orange juice carries around 496 milligrams of potassium, and many people drink 12 to 16 ounces, doubling that load to nearly 1,000 milligrams before the day even begins. A medium orange itself has about 333 milligrams, still high when kidneys can't clear excess minerals. Juicing multiplies the impact because it condenses the nutrients and the sugar of several oranges into one quick hit. For healthy kidneys, that's manageable. For damaged ones, it's a shock. The science backs it up. Studies in the American Journal of Kidney Diseases show that sudden spikes in serum potassium after consuming large citrus servings can lead to arrhythmia or acute hyperkalemia in CKD patients. The high natural sugar compounds the stress, forcing kidneys to filter thicker, glucose-heavy blood while your body scrambles to restore balance. There's a safer, smarter way to keep the citrus flavor and immune support. Replace orange juice with lemon or lime water. Just a squeeze adds brightness with less than 40 milligrams of potassium per tablespoon. For vitamin C, reach for strawberries, red bell peppers, or pineapple. All give you more C per calorie and far less mineral load. When Henry made that simple swap, his energy improved, his lab stabilized, and he joked, "Who knew sour could save my heart?" Oranges aren't villains. They're simply too rich for kidneys that can't keep pace. But learning to limit juice isn't the final step, because the next fruit is even more beloved, sweet, soft, and convenient, and yet it's the one that pushes potassium past the danger line faster than any other. And most people eat it every single day without realizing it. If orange juice floods your kidneys with hidden sugar and potassium, bananas deliver the same overload in a deceptively innocent package. They're soft, portable, and comforting, so familiar that we stop questioning them. But for anyone with rising creatinine or declining GFR, that bright yellow fruit can quietly push your potassium to dangerous territory. I remember Michael, a 68-year-old marathon walker who prided himself on eating clean. Every morning before his workout, he'd have one banana for energy. It's natural potassium, he'd tell me. But when his lab results came back, his potassium level was over 6, high enough to cause heart arrhythmias. He blinked in disbelief. "You're telling me a banana did this?" Yes, a single medium banana packs around 422 milligrams of potassium, roughly 1/5 of a kidney patient's daily limit. For someone whose kidneys are already filtering slower, even that small load can add up fast, especially when paired with other high potassium foods like spinach, potatoes, or avocados. And because bananas digest quickly, they release potassium and sugar almost instantly, forcing your kidneys to respond to a sudden flood they can't fully clear. The science is sobering. Research from the Journal of Clinical Nephrology shows that hyperkalemia, the dangerous rise in blood potassium, is among the top 3 causes of hospitalization in people with chronic kidney disease. And the most common trigger isn't medication, it's diet. Bananas are one of the biggest offenders simply because people eat them daily without ever realizing the risk. The fix isn't complicated, but it does require awareness. Replace bananas with apples, pears, or a handful of berries, fruits that deliver fiber, antioxidants, and sweetness with a fraction of the potassium. If you bake, use unsweetened applesauce instead of mashed banana, it adds moisture and flavor without the mineral overload. When Michael made these swaps, his potassium normalized, and he told me I still walk every day, but now my heart isn't racing to keep up. That's the power of small corrections. You don't have to give up nature's gifts, just choose the right ones for the body you have today. But knowing how to balance potassium still won't save you from what's coming next, because the final fruit on this list isn't just risky, it's toxic. A single bite can trigger seizures, confusion, even coma, and it's one most people have seen in hotel buffets without realizing the danger. If bananas quietly push potassium too far, Starfruit crosses a line your body simply can't come back from. This one isn't about portion size or balance, it's about survival. Starfruit is beautiful, exotic, and tragically deceptive. You've seen it in fruit platters and tropical smoothies sliced into cute little yellow stars. But for anyone with kidney disease, even a small serving can trigger something far worse than a creatinine spike. It can shut your body down. I'll never forget Samuel, a 64-year-old man who came to the emergency room with violent hiccups that wouldn't stop. He was confused, restless, and vomiting. The staff ran his labs. His creatinine was high, but not yet critical. And then one nurse asked the right question. "Did you eat anything new?" His wife said he'd tried Starfruit juice at a local market that morning, just half a glass. Within hours, Samuel was seizing. The culprit was caramboxin, a neurotoxin found naturally in Starfruit. Healthy kidneys can filter it out, but when filtration slows, it builds up in the blood, crosses into the brain, and disrupts nerve signaling. Scientific reports from the American Journal of Emergency Medicine document cases where as little as half a Starfruit or 100 milliliters of juice cause seizures, confusion, and even coma in patients with kidney impairment. The toxin is heat-stable, meaning cooking doesn't destroy it. Dialysis can sometimes remove it, but not always fast enough to prevent neurological damage. For this reason, nephrologists worldwide issue one unbreakable rule. If your kidneys are compromised, avoid Starfruit completely. The danger is how often it appears unnoticed as garnishing cocktails in tropical buffets or blended into detox juices sold online. It looks like a harmless decoration, but for vulnerable kidneys, it's a loaded weapon. Even people with early-stage CKD or those who don't yet know their kidneys are weak have ended up hospitalized after consuming it. Samuel survived, but only because his wife recognized the symptoms early. Weeks later, he told me, "I almost lost my life to something that looked beautiful." His story still haunts me because it reminds us that kidney health isn't about fear, it's about awareness. Starfruit is the perfect symbol of this truth. What looks pure and harmless can turn deadly if your kidneys aren't ready to handle it. But this knowledge only matters if you act on it, because even the safest fruits can become dangerous if you don't know your limits. In the next part, we'll pull everything together into a simple daily plan that helps you protect your kidneys and lower creatinine safely starting right now. So now you know the truth. The same fruits that heal can also harm, and the difference isn't luck, it's knowledge. If you've watched this far, it means you care about your health, about your future, maybe even about someone you love who's silently struggling with kidney issues. And that alone puts you ahead of millions of people who never get this far, who still believe healthy always means safe. Here's my advice from one human to another. Keep it simple. Stay curious. Listen to your body. Your kidneys don't need fancy detoxes or miracle supplements. They need consistency, awareness, and love. A cup of the right fruit, enough clean water, good sleep, steady movement. Those small choices every day can do more for your kidneys than any expensive treatment ever could. If today's video opened your eyes, don't let it end here. Save this video so you can come back to it whenever you shop, cook, or plan your next meal. Subscribe to this channel and tap the bell icon, because every week we share the latest science, real patient stories, and practical ways to protect your kidneys before problems become emergencies. These lessons might one day save your life or the life of someone you love. And remember this, your kidneys aren't broken. They're asking for help. Give them time, give them care, and they can surprise you with how much healing they're still capable of. I'm Dr. Mark Ellis, and I'm proud of you for taking this step today. Stay informed, stay consistent, and never lose hope, because the road to better kidney health begins not with fear, but with understanding.